week, but you have the Raiders hosting Monday Night Football tonight here in town, as well as a preseason game with the Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Brooklyn Nets. So so much stuff going on. And then, by the way, tomorrow, the Vegas Golden Knights are only going to be getting, the banner raised at T-Mobile Arena and playing their season opener against the Seattle Kraken. So it's just an absolute onslaught of stuff going on this weekend and on this Monday going into the early week.
There certainly is a lot going on, that's for sure. And I have to start off with, of course, the biggest news story over the weekend, and it's extremely sad. And there are a bunch of innocent Israeli citizens, all sorts of different people in Israel, the early morning hours, I believe Saturday, and people in their homes with their families, people enjoying a music festival, you name it. And Hamas, the known terrorist organization, decided to kill as many innocent Israelis as possible. The number keeps rising. Women and children executed, raped, held hostage. And it is unbelievable. And it's hard for me to put into words what a tragedy this is, and the hateful people in the world that want to do evil things. This was not about territory. It wasn't about Gaza. It wasn't about territory. It was about hate. It was an unsolicited attack, and an attack that happened because of pure evil. That's what this was all about. And while this was all going on, 2 members of Congress were in Israel at the time. Congressman Dan Goldman and his wife and his 3 young children were in Israel for a family bar mitzvah when the attacks began. Goldman said through a spokesperson that they had to hide in a hallway in a hotel. And Senator Cory Booker was also in the country for planned meetings. He made it out of there. He was accompanying staffers where in Jerusalem when the attacks were launched and they sheltered in a place for their safety. They both were able to safely depart Israel. So this all happened over the weekend, transpiring, and there were some protests, pro-Palestinian protests. My statement to all of them: if this was about being pro-Palestinian, then why did you decide to celebrate hours after Hamas executed and killed so many innocent people in Israel? These were pro-Hamas rallies. These were not pro-Palestinian rallies. So that's what I'll say to that. And then you have members of the squad who I've criticized on this show time and time again, people like Ilhan Omar and Tlaib, who are anti-Israel and, in my personal opinion, anti-Semitic. And Ilhan Omar going on social media, basically saying there should be a ceasefire and this back and forth needs to stop. Let me be very clear. While this has been a conflict that has gone on for decades and decades and decades, this attack was not retaliation for some sort of back and forth. This was an attack that was unprovoked. And this was an attack. Certainly, we need to find out how this could have happened. And with the capabilities and the defense mechanisms that Israel has, that needs to be investigated. But unfortunately, it's very difficult to investigate and to talk about these types of issues when you have a bunch of idiots on the far right that are blaming Joe Biden. Now, we can get into that, Chris, and we can talk about that $6 billion payment or the $6 billion that was unfrozen in a bank account. We can talk about that. But I can tell you right now, Joe Biden didn't want this to happen. I don't speak for the squad because I think they're despicable. I've had it defending Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar and Tlaib. I've had it with them. I just think they're all despicable with their statements about Israel, not just in the last week. I'm talking about years since they've been in office. Their anti-Israel attacks, their anti-Semitic remarks. And now Ilhan Omar expects Israel to just raise their hands and say, you know what, let's just do a ceasefire. No, that's not going to happen. There is going to be retaliation. It's already happened. It's going to continue to happen. And it's personal to me on a lot of different fronts. First of all, I know somebody who I lived with for a short period of time in Vegas who is still missing. She was at the music festival with her boyfriend, and I am in contact with her sister. She is still missing. And it's really tough when you talk to a family about their missing daughter and they hope that she was kidnapped and not dead. Try having that conversation. And then while I'm having that conversation, I have people on the right, on the far right, MAGA cultists, sending me messages saying, oh, you're friends who support Hamas. I can't handle that. I don't know if my friend is dead. I don't know if she was kidnapped. I know she's missing. And meanwhile, people on the right want to score political points. Idiots like Tim Scott, who is a despicable human being, who is blaming Joe Biden for this attack. Just go on his social media. Many on the extreme far right are blaming Joe Biden. If you watch that turd, that despicable turd, Mark Levin, who is an embarrassment to Jewish people. Let me tell you who's responsible for this. Number one, it's Hamas, the terrorist organization. The Iranian government helps fund them. And I personally believe, and I've talked to some really intelligent people, far more intelligent than I am, that believe Vladimir Putin may have had something to do with that and may have been in cahoots working with the Iranian government to take the ball off of Ukraine. So Americans can stop thinking about Ukraine for the next month, because we're not going to be talking about Ukraine for the next month. Certainly members of the media and this country, we're going to be talking about the Israel-Palestinian conflict. So I do believe that Vladimir Putin may have played a role in this as well. Make no mistake about it. The Iranian government was behind this. And if you want to talk about the people of Palestine, some of these people are complicit. They know exactly what took place here. They're harboring terrorists in a plan to execute an innocent people and rip limbs off of children. You think I'm being too graphic? No, you need to hear this. That's what's going on here. They're raping the mothers, killing the children, torturing the husbands, taking them out of their own homes, executing people one by one, and torturing them. That's what these animals are doing. And these people that are pro-Palestine, that are holding these rallies here, and these far right-wingers that call themselves politicians, claiming that Joe Biden is responsible for this, you are all despicable human beings. The first thing we should be talking about is the loss of life and how these innocent people, their lives were taken from them. So many different stories. A woman who is a social media influencer, a young lady in her early 20s, brutally raped and murdered while her body is on the back of a pickup truck, and you hear Allah Akbar, or whatever the hell they say, while her naked dead body is in the back of a pickup truck. Another a couple separated from one another while you see the boyfriend being marched with his hands behind his back while his girlfriend is taken away in a motorcade. The stories are endless of the torture and the devastation. And you want to blame Joe Biden for this? It's personal to me. It should be personal to you. It shouldn't matter whether you're Jewish or not. This is evil. This is the 9/11 of Israel. That's what this is for them. And we need to support them. We need to back them. And we need to stop pointing fingers at at Republicans or Democrats in this country. Anti-Semitic statements cannot be tolerated. And while you have the right to peacefully protest, these people, hours after Hamas commits these atrocities, you want to hold pro-Palestinian rallies? It's despicable.
Okay, yeah, I'll respond. Couple things. Obviously, when something like this happens, it's absolutely horrific and tragic. It is a terrorist attack. Let's call it what it is. All right? It's a terrorist organization in Hamas that has committed this horrible act. And the state of Israel has declared war on Hamas. Now, let's be very clear, Brian. They declared war on Hamas. They have not declared war on all Palestinians. And we also need to be extremely clear here, Brian. And you've pretty much lined it up. You pretty much lined it out, and you pretty much spelled it out. You have a personal stake in this, Brian. You are a Jewish American. Okay? You obviously are in the camp of Israel on this. And also, you have a extremely monstrous stake in the game here because you have friends who are involved here, who could possibly be killed or kidnapped. So we need to make that abundantly clear. Because that is reflecting in your comments extremely coming through. Okay? I'm going to come at it from a person who's an American, who's neither Jewish or Palestinian. And I'm going to come at it from a perspective of This is a conflict and an issue that needs to be resolved, and it just quite frankly has not been resolved. It's problematic also that you have Congress people in the United States making inflammatory statements just minutes, in some cases seconds, after this horrific tragedy took place, in which again, I'll reiterate, a terrorist organization that is Hamas, that is a militant wing of essentially the Palestinian people, basically, right? That's what we're talking about here. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I in my descriptions here and my viewpoint on this. It is a terrorist attack taken out by a terrorist organization. What am I talking about when I say people that are in Congress making inflammatory statements? I'm talking about the likes of Cori Bush, right? Cori Bush's statement where she reiterates what all of us believe or what all of us want to express as far as sentiment, saying that she's heartbroken by the ongoing violence in Israel and Palestine and mourns, the hundreds of people that lost their lives in this attack, and the multiple attacks actually that have taken place, and then that we possibly could have more. Now, this is what happens when you have people on the outside looking in, like myself and like Cori Bush. They try to chime in and try to have a description of the entire situation and not focusing on exactly what happened here, right? Where you need to have compassion for those who lost their lives, those who could be getting tortured, those who were kidnapped. You need to have a focus on that instead of espousing ideas where it's a both sides thing. Because in essence, when you're talking about the entire conflict, there is an element of it, Brian, that there's a both sides thing. There are Palestinians that cite numerous times about atrocities that have taken place with Palestinian people that have taken place at the hands of the state of Israel. And there's obviously, when you have a terrorist organization like Hamas that gets involved in a situation like this, yes, you have terrorist attacks that take place on their side as well, too. But as you pointed out, nobody wants to hear right now the plight of the Palestinian people. All we want to hear, and all you want to hear, and again, it's very personal to you, Brian. It's very personal,
Can I
as
comment
it should
on
be.
that?
So no, just let me finish what I'm saying. I'll be quick. So it's not a situation right now where we should be talking about both sides. We shouldn't be. So you can't have inflammatory comments like Cori Bush right here when she says, as part of achieving a just and lasting peace, we must do our part to stop this violence and trauma by ending the United States government's support for Israel's military occupation and apartheid. Apartheid is an extremely inflammatory word used by not only Cori Bush, but Palestinians when they talk about their plight in this conflict between Israel and Palestine. So I'll finish. Let me just wrap it, and then I'll bounce it back to you. Okay. You cannot have people like Cori Bush, like Chris Wynn, people that are not Jewish American, or support Israel or Palestinians coming in and talking about this as it's a both sides thing right now. But it definitely is a both sides thing as far as the encapsulation of the entire situation. That is the Palestinian people and the state of Israel.
Okay, so let me just start off by saying this, and I'm going to speak in very general terms. If Israel didn't defend themselves or in some cases retaliate, the state of Israel would not exist, period. That's number one. Number two, and again, a general statement that I will make, I don't believe you have to have a personal investment in this or be Jewish to be able to call out right and wrong and good versus evil. That's number two. Number three, 900 Israelis now have been killed. The reports are that at least 2,600 have been injured. In Gaza, 687 killed, over 3,700 injured. The total, over 1,600 people have been killed, over 6,400 people have been injured. Sadly, I guarantee you that number will probably double. There are thousands of people that are missing from the reports that I saw. It's very simple to me in this aspect. When you have, and listen, it wasn't a large amount of people, but there were thousands across the country that were protesting immediately, hours after these attacks for Palestine. There were also people that were celebrating. A small percentage of people around the world were celebrating these attacks.
Well, those people are despicable.
So,
yeah.
If you want, I see some people on the far right in this country saying that there are people in Palestine, there are people in Gaza, they don't have electricity. Well, maybe Hamas should have thought about that before they did this.
Okay, again, we're
not
getting into
talking
Brian,
about-
time out.
I'm
We're getting into territory here where you're just taking the side of the state of Israel, and it makes sense because you're a Jewish American. But you're when you say things like one, it's all good or all bad. It's all
Okay,
good
so
or it's
here's
all
what
right.
I am
You're-
saying.
and by the way, you're right in this individual situation. You
I
are
don't
100% right.
support
It's
any-
a terrorist attack.
I don't support.
So-
Okay, if I could just finish, I don't support any innocent person being killed by anyone, any way, shape, or form. However, in this circumstance, Israel is going to defend themselves.
Yeah.
There will be innocent Palestinian people that will die. And you know what? I wish in war no innocent person died, but this would not have happened and there would be no retaliation. And Israel would not be doing this if a terrorist organization like Hamas did not decide to kill a bunch of innocent people and terrorize the state of Israel.
Well,
Now,
no, Brian, the point is not to kill innocent Palestinians. The point is they've declared war on Hamas. You want people in Hamas to die. You want people that are in the terrorist
And
organization of
people-
Hamas to die.
and-
You're saying that yes, there could be innocent people killed that are Palestinian. Absolutely, Brian.
You will not
okay, but that's
see-
not the point.
you will
That's not what
you-
the state
you
of
will not-
Israel is
you will
going
not-
to do.
You will not see.
They're not
I
going to try to
guarantee
kill
you will
innocent
not-
Palestinians.
Okay, my point being, you will not see members of the Iranian government. You will not see those in Palestine, even citizens, or very few of them, calling out Hamas. You will not hear them or see them calling out these terrorist attacks. And sadly, there are people in this country that will not call out these attacks. In fact, some of them are celebrating these attacks. If you remember, after 9/11, there were some in the world that were celebrating the attacks. This is the Israel version of 9/11. We all need to support Israel. They have a right to defend themselves, and anybody like the morons and the anti-Semitic, despicable human being that is Ilhan Omar, and I've been speaking out against her. There were times that I used to defend Ocasio-Cortez. Those days are long gone. Ilhan Omar seems to think that there should be a ceasefire and Israel should not be allowed to defend themselves. Ilhan Omar is an idiot. She is despicable. And this has nothing to do with being Muslim, because I know people that are Muslim in this country that are good-hearted people that would tell you Israel has a right to defend themselves. Just because you're Muslim doesn't mean you're going to have that take. Ilhan Omar does, because she is anti-Semitic, she is anti-Israel, and she is disgusting. And you know what? I had a conversation with an influential person yesterday who knows Hakeem Jeffries very well. Jeffries needs to call out the anti-Semitism and the anti-Israeli rhetoric immediately. To this day, he has refused to do so. He needs to call it out publicly. If you want to be a leader of the Democrat Party and you want to be possibly a president one day, you need to call out those in your own party and show some courage. Joe Biden needs to do the same thing. There are a very, very small group of people in the Democrat Party that are spreading this anti-Israeli rhetoric and claiming that Israel should not have the right to defend themselves. That is ridiculous. It is insanity. And Hamas is going to pay for this. And yes, there will be innocent lives taken. What they need to do right now are two things. First of all, you need to worry about those that are still alive right now and that are being held captive. You have to do everything you can to try to get them out of there alive. That's going to be very difficult. Number two, how the hell does this happen? If you're Israel and you have some of the best defense mechanisms and capabilities in the world, how the hell did you allow this to happen? You want to talk about a huge blunder on the part of Israel in protecting your own people. This is disastrous. There needs to be a full investigation. This can never happen again, and we need to find out how this happened. And if you think Vladimir Putin wasn't a part of this, then you are complicit. This takes the entire ball off of Ukraine right now, and for the next month, everybody, rightfully so, is going to be talking about the Israel-Palestinian conflict and Hamas. But this takes the ball off of Ukraine, and I absolutely believe if you look at Russia and their history with Iran, absolutely this had to be partially funded by Vladimir Putin. I have no doubt that this is not a coincidence. So we're going to have to wait and see how this thing plays out, Chris. We got to take a break, but it's a tragedy. I've never seen video like this. It's Al-Qaeda stuff.
Wait a minute. Look, there have been numerous. Wait, what do you mean you've never seen anything like this? There has been numerous terrorist attacks when you're thinking about Hamas, and numerous horrific tragedies that have taken place in the conflict between Israel and Palestine.
What I mean by that,
over hundreds of years.
Okay,
there's
I
don't know.
I understand that. That's not what I meant. What I meant by that statement is I've never seen anything like that with the videos that I have seen. Example, I have never seen video before of families in their home huddled up and being executed, women being raped, kids getting their arms and legs dismembered. I've never seen videos like that. I'm sure it's happened in the history of the world. I'm saying I've never seen video like that before. And it is chilling, and it will be in my head for the rest of my life. I'll never be able to get that out of my mind. I've never seen video like that. These people are barbaric. They're dangerous. And they need to be wiped off the face of the earth. And I support Israel, and I support them being able to defend themselves. And I hope they can get as many people, these prisoners or these whatever captives, whatever you want to call them. I hope they can save as many lives as they can.
And a quick note, Brian, it's already been confirmed through the United States government, actually, officials. There's at least 4 Americans, not just Israelis, Americans who have perished in this. And there probably going to be more. And because you've already referred to people that you know that are actually in the middle of this situation. So it's an absolutely horrific tragedy, not only for Israelis, but obviously for Americans and Jewish Americans as well.
And somebody that knows a little bit about foreign affairs, he's the former White House communications director, the Mooch. Anthony Scaramucci is going to be joining us next. And we'll be talking to him about this entire situation and who does he put at fault for this. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you could be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services. From shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. Tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event. It requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, You can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust, someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
The Klondike Casino is a friendly local spot that features their signature restaurant, the Klondike Grill, serving up fresh food fast. Open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner just off the 95 freeway on Sunset Road in Henderson. You will find the Klondike Casino featuring all your favorite games from the Strip in the comfort of a neighborhood casino. You can place a bet at their full-service sportsbook or start your day with a breakfast plate that comes with your choice of potato and toast. Or check us out for lunch or dinner and try one of our many sandwiches like the popular beer-battered fish sandwich or the Philly cheesesteak. Check out the full menu at KlondikeSunset.com.
Is your dog suffering from a sensitive stomach? Hi, it's Kelly the Cookie Lady from Mooch's Munchies. Our dogs had super sensitive tummies, and I needed to find a low-fat treat that wouldn't give them gas or other issues. Most of the treats on the market were loaded with fillers, chemicals, and chicken fat. Many of them weren't even food. Well, I knew I could do better, so I developed Mooch's Munchies, and I'm happy to be able to share them with you. Stop by our store or our website, moochesmunchies.com, and find out why we say that Mooch's Munchies are totally pawsome.
Welcome to Hash House A Go-Go, where we've been serving farm food and crafted cocktails for over 2 decades. Visit us for the full Hash House experience at any of our 5 Las Vegas locations. Hash House A Go-Go is where old school meets new and gets twisted. We bring people together over good food and fun. Come in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and come hungry because our portions are huge. Visit us online to see our entire menu at hashhouseagogo.com. Hash House A Go-Go. It's a Midwest thing, and there's nothing else like it. Welcome to Hash House A Go-Go, where we've been...
Is your dog suffering from a sensitive munch?
CBD offers full and broad spectrum CBD oil, extracts, and capsules, which are designed to help you feel your best. Their products are sourced from the best organic hemp and natural ingredients on the market and are tested for quality, purity, and potency. They have a full range of items from health and wellness to beauty to pets. Call 725-205-9223. Visit online at zinworld.com or stop by their location at 9895 South Maryland Parkway and Silverado Range Parkway. Mention KSHP for 10% off in store or use code KSHP online for 15% off.
Locally owned and operated, come on down to Academy of Hair Design located at 5191 West Charleston Boulevard, number 150 today to begin your career in cosmetology. There is something for everyone from cosmetology to nail technology. You will be able to have the hands-on training that is needed to succeed in this career field. Call 702-878-1185 or visit www.ahdvegas.com today.
The London Bridge Resort in Lake Havasu is the perfect place to vacation in style. Their beautifully designed suites include stunning views, a kitchenette, and free Wi-Fi. The well-reviewed and affordable resort has tons of amenities, including a breakfast buffet, kids camp, a 9-hole golf course, 3 pools, a marina, boat tours, a water slide, and a great nightlife scene. London Bridge Resort is centrally located in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Go to londonbridgeresort.com to plan your getaway today. London Bridge Resort, your Arizona oasis destination.
Hungry for the best barbecue in Las Vegas? Come out to the infamous barbecue and meat market, John Mole's Meats and Roadkill Grill in Las Vegas. John Mole's was featured on the Food Network's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Now take home delicious meat selections for your grill, and while you're there, grab a bite of the best barbecue in Las Vegas. With 2 locations now at Tom and Gowan or on North Decatur, you're sure to find the perfect meats for your next barbecue or party. Find us online at johnmolemeats.com.
Big Dogs Brewing Company, open 24/7, is an award-winning brewery, a full-service catering business, and a fun, smoke-free brew pub restaurant with a full-service bar, including over 35 craft beers on tap, 35 multi-denomination slot machines, the best gaming promotion, and a lively, dog-friendly outdoor patio. Big Dogs Brewing Company, 4543 North Rancho at Gray. Find out more at BigDogsBrews.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Obviously, tragedy in Israel. I can't even imagine what the good people of Israel have been going through over the course of the last 48 hours. Joined by Chris Witt in the studio, and a lot of different narratives being through on social media, and even some politicians like Tim Scott who want to blame this all on Joe Biden. I figured what better person to talk about this and get his thoughts on what has taken place with this Israel-Palestinian conflict and Hamas. The former White House communications director. It's been a little while since we had him on. It's always a pleasure having the Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, joining us. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us as always. How are you?
It's good to be here, Brian. You got quite an audience. You know, every time I join your show, I get calls from all over the country. So keep up the great work.
I appreciate that, Anthony. And I love having you on. Obviously, when I first wanted you to come on Monday, I had no idea I don't think anybody did, what would transpire in Israel over the weekend. What are your thoughts on what's taken place over the last couple of days?
Well, I mean, I want to step back. I'm going to say some things people are going to be upset with me, but I just want to step back for a second. And I want you to imagine you're the smartest person in Hamas. And so you're planning this attack, you're planning a sneak attack. The attack is successful. It more or less accomplishes what you want. You've abducted hostages, and you've rained terror on innocents in Israel. So therefore, now think about it from a chess perspective. The smartest person in Hamas wants exactly what to happen. And so I believe what they want to have happen is a full retribution from the state of Israel and a full IDF response house to house in Hamas areas, all of Gaza. And I feel like they want to see the Israelis wipe out large portions of Gaza. And you say to me, okay, well, why would they like to do that? Well, number one, they don't value life because they're in a totalitarian regime, and democracies are really the best form of government. What did Churchill say? It's the worst form of government till you compare it to everything else. So we don't act like that in democracies, but in totalitarian regimes, they do. We have long histories of that. And they want the Israelis to go hog wild crazy in Gaza, because everybody has one of these things in their hands, and they'll film it, and they'll film these atrocities, and they will cause more radicalization in the Arab world. They'll definitely split Israel from any potential diplomatic relationship or normal relationship with Riyadh and the Saudis, and maybe even alienate people in the West from Israel. And so, so that's the goal. Okay, so that's the goal. And so now what is the response? And I just want to remind everybody, because we have 22 years now to reflect upon this, on the dark web after the Cole was hit, the USS Cole was bombed by Al-Qaeda. They had bombed 2 successful embassies in Africa. They hit the Cole. Bin Laden wrote on the dark web that he was coming for the homeland, he was coming from the home soil of the US, and that we would react in a way that would start the process of destroying the American empire. And so what he wrote in the dark web is that he would hit us. We would react in a way where we would bleed ourselves out. We would lose treasure and blood in the Middle East, bombing mud huts. And it would be the start of the end of our empire. And by the way, people are going to be mad at me, but it's about 4-0, top of the 5th inning, Bin Laden 4, US 0, 22 years later, because you went from George Washington to George W. Bush, $7 trillion in deficit spending, to where we are now, $34 trillion or $33 trillion of deficit spending. We've racked up $27 trillion of deficit spending. And we've hollowed out the American middle class and the American lower middle class to the point where they're voting for people like Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, and they're no longer reacting appropriately. We're losing our Speaker of the House. You could like Kevin or dislike Kevin, but you're wrecking the continuity of our government at a time where there's a world war going on. So again, just reminding everybody, 1939, the U.S. wasn't in a kinetic war, but we were supplying through Lend-Lease the Russians and the Brits, and we were shutting down through sanctions the oil transfers to the Japanese Empire. So 2 short years later, we're in a hot war. And so if you guys don't think this Third World War has started, you're really not paying close enough attention to history. So number one, I would recommend to the Israelis not to overreact, even though there'll be political pressure, particularly on the right, to do so. I would remind the Israelis that 50+% of the people that live in Gaza are below the age of 21. And you don't want to give them you have the media advantage and you have the sympathy of the world right now because of the attack. Don't lose it. There's ways to handle this without them losing it. And I think the third thing is, if you're in the United States, you got to really be honest with yourself about where we are in terms of equipment and material deployment into the Ukraine, what we're going to do to help Israel in this time of crisis, and then what are the Chinese going to do with Taiwan? And so, I'm sorry being so long-winded, but I want to give you a full 4-dimensional chess view of what's going on, and then analyze it from the perspective of somebody that's been in the government. Now, granted, I got fired after 11 days, but after you read these intelligence briefings and after you look through them, I see you guys chuckling, but at least you guys have never said 10 days because that would hurt my feelings. I don't want to be chipped out of 9.1% of my federal employment career. But what I'm saying to you is, and people like me get fired very quickly, by the way, because we're so goddamn honest with the situation and we're so direct that these politicians hate people like me because we made our own money and we don't care. I tell you exactly what I think, and they don't.
No, I know that. That's why I love having you on.
They want to be in the boat rowing their troughs of cynicism and corruption. And good people don't come into government because of that.
Anybody who's honest around Donald Trump doesn't last very long. You're right about that. All right, Mooch, let me ask you a response from politicians in this country. Let me take both extremes, on the right and the left. You have some people on the right, like the Tim Scotts of the world, that are pretty much putting all the blame on Joe Biden. You've seen some of the tweets he's put out there. I think they're despicable. And then you have people on the extreme left, like those in the squad, like the Ilhan Omars of the world that we all know are anti-Israel, making inflammatory remarks on social media as well. What do you make about, the Ilhan Omars of the world and the Tim Scotts of the world and the way they've been reacting on social media the last couple of days?
Okay, so again, people are not going to like this. Okay, I am a Zionist. Okay, and I have been to Israel. I love the people of Israel, but I also understand the dilemma that the Palestinians have. And I understand how they feel about the situation. And if you want peace, what ends up happening when you make peace, unless it's World War II, and you're going for unconditional surrender, you're going to drop some nukes and obliterate people, kill tens of millions of people, innocent people, you can get to unconditional surrender. But in a multipolar world that we're living in right now, if you don't want a hot kinetic war, you're going to have a rapprochement. And when you have a rapprochement, sworn enemies that want to knock each other off the planet have to make a conciliation towards each other. Isaac Rabin did that in 1995, and he was killed by the radicals on his right. They shot him. Okay, he was trying to cut a peace deal with Yasser Arafat, his sworn enemy, and his people on his right killed him. It wasn't like the terrorists killed him, right? So to me, what I'm saying to you is that both sides are wrong. Tim Scott is wrong. That's politically expedient. It's very, very transparent. Ilhan Omar, whatever her name is, she has the right to say what she's saying because we live in a free America, but she's wrong as well. Okay, now I'm not saying there aren't justifiable things about what's going on from a Palestinian perspective, but nothing crosses over to killing innocent people and abducting and raping women. Nothing crosses over to that. That's when you're going into the land, the lack of civilization, and some primordial behavior. And so nothing justifies that. So if she thinks that that's justified, she's an abhorrent person and she needs to be, called out for it. If she's saying that the Palestinians have issues and that they need to have some of their issues adhered to, I understand that. And unfortunately, to make peace, you have to find out where there are intersecting issues to cut that deal.
Yeah, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. But I mean, that's
my key to this. A big key to this, right, is that it is something that's so immediate. It just happened in the last couple of days. So it's so raw. It is so hurtful, obviously, for Jewish Americans, those in Israel, and those of us who are, like you use the word abhorrent, because that's what it is, right? When a terrorist attack takes place, we all immediately, if you're a good person, obviously you're like, what the hell just happened here? This is absolutely atrocious. But the problem here is, and I'll toss this out there, and this is why Brian and I got into this before you came on the air, because I did try to bring up, I mean, you can call it devil's advocate, I guess. That's the way I'll describe it. We tried to bring up, look, how are Palestinians looking at this, right? How are people that are sympathetic to Palestinians, i.e. Ilhan Omar, right? Cori Bush, other people that are government officials who have come out and made statements made statements like the state of Israel is engaged in apartheid, right? Using that inflammatory word. They're saying that the state of Israel essentially is occupying the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, right? That having that type of having those type of comments so quickly after a terrorist attack like this is highly problematic, right, Anthony? And it causes all kinds of strife.
Well, first of all, it's factually not accurate, okay? Because I've been to those areas. I've been to the boycott areas. I've been to Sderot, which is on the border, which is taking thousands of rocket attacks a day, okay? I've been in the yeshiva. I've been on top of the yeshiva where they've turned the Kasem rockets into a menorah. I can send you guys pictures of that if you have interest. And so it's factually not accurate, okay? There's been deals on the table to offer peace, but the deals don't come perfectly. And so we can argue about this, but I think it's 70 plus years now, 47. So let's call it 76 years. The state of Israel has existed. The Western powers and the United Nations have accepted it. Some people don't accept it, but it has existed for 80 years, which is 1/3 of the United States' lifespan for that matter. And so whether you like it or not, it's there, it's going to stay there, and it has the support of the West, specifically the United States. And that support has been primarily bipartisan from the non-radical sects of the two parties, okay?
Sure.
The left-wing side of the party probably doesn't support it, the Democrats, but by and large, everybody else does. And so that's number one. Number two, did they do everything right? Well, we both know, all three of us know that they don't do everything right. But tell me who does everything right, okay, including us. And so I would say to you, there's degrees of right and wrong. When you are murdering innocents and raping children and old women, and you're stealing people on mopeds and taking them into Gaza, you're wrong. Okay. And you guys just know your history, and I know you guys do. But what did Eisenhower do when he got to those camps? He sent for all the press. He said, we have to take pictures. We have to document all of this so that it's irrefutable evidence of the wrongdoing, so that we can't pretend that these atrocities didn't happen. He said, sometimes we don't know what we're fighting for, but I learned in that camp where they were exterminating innocent people what we were fighting against. Okay.
Mooch,
we have to, I just want to finish this one statement. So I'm with you. I can tell you that we're not always right. I can tell you the Israelis are not always right. And I can tell you there are issues that the Palestinians have legitimate claims to. But doing something like this, okay, you're losing the plot and you're losing the narrative. And now the question is, well, why did you do that? And I believe that the answer is to cause a full-on kinetic war in the Middle East and to unify people that have never been unified against Israel. One of the reasons why 50 years ago the Yom Kippur War failed is that the Arab community that was anti-Israel, they couldn't get together to fight Israel. They outmanned them 13-1, but they couldn't get to a single thread of unanimity to go after the state of Israel. And I think this approach is to try to get that to happen. Okay. And I think you got to be very careful of the Israelis to make sure that you're on the side of right from a moral perspective, even if it's a relative moral perspective.
I think that's a strong possibility. If you're just joining us, former White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci, don't say he was there for 10 days. That'll get him upset. 11 days,
11,
right?
11.
Yes.
But
We'll be very
12, but someday there's going to be another Republican in the White House going to give me one more day so I can have like an even dozen, okay?
I wish you were there a lot longer, as you know,
I've talked
Anthony.
to many presidential candidates on the Republican side, and I've gotten a promise from a few of them that I'm going to get an honorary 24 more hours in the White House. So
you deserve that, Anthony. You deserve that. All right, two-part question, Mooch. Two-part question. Yeah. First of all, as you know, there are some on the right that are criticizing Joe Biden for the $6 billion that he, quote unquote, unfroze. And then my second part to this question, it's a little bit different. I am not a conspiracy theorist. However, I've talked to some pretty brilliant people that believe that Vladimir Putin might have had something to do with this, in cahoots with the Iranian government, so that we could maybe take the ball off of what is going on in Ukraine. I want to get your thoughts on that and your thoughts on Joe Biden and the $6 billion.
Well, look, I mean, the intelligence community probably already has a much better feel for that than me. I haven't been briefed on it. But any adversary of ours, you have to assume, is teaming up with other adversaries. You know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but our adversaries also see each other as friends. You know, the Chinese and the Russians are fighting over the eastern side of Russia, right? Vladivostok is under threat because in the 1630s, the Russian Empire took that over from the Chinese when the Chinese were in a moment of weakness. It's 350 years later, they want it back. These guys have been in a border war there for 600 years, but because of their mutual hatred of the United States, they're teaming up and they're now, quote unquote, friends for life. So you'd have to be naive to not think that the Russians are not in cahoots with the Iranians who are helping Hamas create this type of distraction or this diversion. So I believe that, okay, but I haven't been briefed on that, so I don't know it for certain. So that's another reason why I would encourage the people in the Israeli government to be more cautious, because they can win the public opinion if they handle this right. You know, if you go back to the Abu Ghraib, and I'm not pronouncing it right, but the Iraqi prison, where some of our American guardsmen under stress and duress were mistreating some of the Iraqi prisoners, you lose in the court of public opinion. Even if what you think you were doing was justified, you're going to lose in the court of public opinion. The Israelis have the upper hand in that right now. And so I would just encourage them to be careful here. But, you know, Ilhan Omar, Tim Scott, totally unnecessary. You're bringing up the $6 billion. Let's talk about that for a second. Okay, remember, that was money that was frozen in Korean bank accounts that couldn't get transferred into US dollar. So I just want to remind everybody, when you're the president of the United States, you're president for everybody. If any one of us was in that seat and American citizens were held captive somewhere in the world, you would hope, or at least if you were a family member of one of those people abducted, you would hope that the president would act as an advocate to get your family members out of that situation to freedom. You know, one of my personal heroes, Ronald Reagan, broke the law, and he traded arms for hostages back in the 80s. And when they exposed it and they caught him, he went on the public airways and said, "Yep, I did that. But the reason I did that was these were American lives that I was trying to protect." And so what ends up happening is when you do negotiate with tyranny and dictators, you know, you have to make that decision. So Blinken came on the air yesterday and said that money hasn't been spent. But what he should have said is that, yes, we gave that money, and whether it was spent or not, it strengthened the regime. But I did that because I am an advocate for freedom. And I did that because America is a symbol of freedom around the world. and our citizens are more valuable than that. And I'm playing the long game, okay? And I need to let my citizens know if they're caught somewhere around the world, I'm going to do whatever I can to get them out of harm's way. See, this is why this guy, Mark Levin, this Gugutz,
he's the worst.
He's crazy in Italian. He's on the air barking like a wild rabid dog. I'm looking at him and say, you know, because he's such a bully, no one will go stand against him and rebut what he's saying. And of course, you have to go on his show, and so he'll cut your mic. But he's an imbecile. Okay, he's an intellectually dishonest imbecile, and he's not looking at it from a more balanced perspective that you need to have when you're sitting in the American government. But you know, here's things that I will say, and Trump got this stuff right. And you know, I despise Trump. I certainly don't want him to be president again. But Trump understood that if you have an adversary, you inflict pain on that adversary to the point where you bring them to the table on their knees. Okay, and he had those guys square in the corner. Okay, and that was helping the Sunni Muslims, like the Saudis and the Emiratis, et cetera, the Qataris, and it was helping the Israelis. Okay, the great irony is when they went to cut that nuclear deal, you know, Obama accidentally brought the Sunnis and the Israelis together because they were all had the common enemy of Iran. So I appreciate you guys giving me the time to explain this to your listeners, because they have to understand it holistically and not the Fox News representation or the MSNBC representation, but here's a balanced representation of what's going on.
Yes.
And here's an action plan that we should really think about doing. Okay, so we
Agree.
have to help the Israelis. But we also got to get these guys to the table before you see innocent Palestinians below the age of 20 murdered in the streets of Gaza.
I listen, Mooch, I agree with just about everything you're saying, and you're saying it in a very eloquent way, even if people agree or disagree with everything that you're saying. The problem that I have is that we are so divided in this country, even on this issue. We have people that are protesting, pro-Palestinians, protesting in the streets in different cities in this country hours after this attack. We have people that are blaming Joe Biden for this, and it just, we're so divided on so many different issues.
Now you're going to be really upset with me. Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't mind those protests. Okay. That is a free America, and that is free speech. Now I'll use the word abhorrent again. I find those protests to be despicable, and I denounce those protests, but I respect the right for those people to
I agree.
Okay,
Mooch, I don't disagree with you. I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to protest.
No, but this is very, very important. Okay, people like you, Brian, people like us, we have to defeat these people in the free marketplace of ideas. Okay, so what Roosevelt understood when he was getting attacked by Huey Long and Charles Lindbergh and Father Coughlin, okay, in the late 30s, is that he had to go after those guys and push them back. Okay, not allow them to speak or cut their air supply. Let them speak, but let's articulate why they're wrong. You see what I mean? Those protests are
absolutely.
They're also staged, Brian. They're also staged.
Sure they are.
And that was like totally.
Let's also make a clarification, guys. There is a difference, right, between those who are celebrating these horrible terrorist attacks, right? And then there's a difference between people who support Palestine, right? And the Palestinian people. I think it's important to make that distinction, because 100%. That's something that is problematic.
There were people in New York celebrating the attack on 9/11.
Horrible.
It was despicable, and I lost friends. But we have this First Amendment right. I mean, with the first fight I got into with Trump was, I said the press is not the enemy of the people. He called me on Easter Sunday. I thought he was calling to wish me a happy Easter. He was not. He was calling to light my ass up, to tell me that the press was the enemy of the people. But it's not the enemy of the people. The press is there, and you guys are members of the press because you have this radio show. The press is there to hold people accountable. And the press is there to teach our children that they can speak and think freely, so they can invent Facebook or invent Apple.
Agree 100%. If you're just joining us here on KSHP, we're joined by the Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci. And it's interesting because I wanted the Mooch to come on, and this was before these attacks even happened. There were so many other things to discuss, Mooch. Let's switch topics real quickly here. And let's talk about the Republican debates. I mean, the second one was really tough to watch. I watched the first one. I thought Nikki Haley did okay. I had Vivek Ramaswamy on the show a few weeks ago. I think he's a very smart, articulate guy, but I think he just speaks to the Republican base. I want to get your thoughts, first of all, on the two debates, because it's been a little while since we spoke. Anything you were excited about or admired in any of those debates, and any disappointments? What are your thoughts on those that are trying to defeat Donald Trump?
So I'm in Christie's camp. He's not perfect, but he's an adult. He's 60 years old. He's been around the block. He's run a government. He knows how to work with the Democrats, as evidenced by what happened in New Jersey. And I think he's been humbled by certain things that have happened to him over the last 10 years, including Bridgegate. So I'm in his camp. But then he says stuff about Jill Biden, the president's wife, that I don't like. I think it's sort of nonsensical. You shouldn't be talking like that. You're trying to heal the country. I know you think that's going to help you with your base, but I would prefer a Republican to create a new market, meaning, guys, there's 144 million people in our great country that vote the exact same way in every election. It's the most powerful voting bloc in the country. And who is that? That is the non-voter, guys.
Right.
Okay, we have 144 million people that are registered to vote that don't show up to vote. And if you're an entrepreneurial candidate, you have to think like an entrepreneur. You have to market to those people. You have to open the tent to those people and bring them into the tent. And no Republican is doing that. Even my friend Chris Christie is not doing that. And they listen to these political consultants and say something zappy against Joe Biden and say something about the Israeli situation and blame it on Joe Biden and, feed the base, feed this unhinged animal. I mean, Fox News is now, and you could look at the numbers, it's aging white people that are buying catheters and they're buying like canes during the commercial interruptions while they're being screamed at.
You're right.
The grievances that they have. Okay. If you want the Republican Party to do better, you have to reinvent that party and you have to make it look like the beautiful, colorful mosaic of the American people. And there are people, okay, brown and black people, that would vote Republican if you stood for something different than the current nonsense and the current fear of Donald Trump.
I mean, all I hear about, Anthony,
all those debates were about was a rehashing of the MAGA ideas and complaints about the society. And there's nothing refreshing about that. And so we need a Barack Obama. Remember what Obama did? He took on the Clintons. Okay. They were the establishment Democrats. They had 30 state houses locked up, the governor houses. I mean, she had 30 governors support her in 2008. He created a whole new market. He went out and created a whole new registration base of Democrats, and he eclipsed her. And we need somebody like that in the Republican Party to do that. And what's being evidenced by those debates is that we don't have anybody ready to do that.
Wait, Booch, what are you saying? You saying Ron DeSantis isn't the guy? I'm shocked. Is that what you're saying?
That from day one, Ron DeSantis, okay, the chair, and I think I said this to you last time, the chair that I'm sitting on is more exciting and more charismatic. And the chair, unfortunately, is suffering from my two ass cheeks sitting on it. And it is still more exciting and still more charismatic and dynamic than Ron DeSantis. Okay. And so he's got no shot. He had no shot a year ago. And there's nobody that's going to vote for Ron DeSantis to be the president of the United States in this hour of peril.
What does it say about the Republican? But Mooch, what does it say about the Republican Party when they are asked if Donald Trump is a convicted felon, will you still support him? And almost everybody, unlike Chris Christie, but just about everybody else raises their hand. I thought this was the law and order party. That's pathetic.
Well, it's very heartbreaking for somebody like me. I want you to imagine somebody like Ronald Reagan or Dwight Eisenhower or Abraham Lincoln. These were Republican elected presidents of the United States, bearing witness to that amateur hour and bearing witness to that level of political expediency at a time where America and the world needs real leadership. Okay, I'm not saying morally perfect leadership, but at least an anchor towards what is right versus what is wrong. Okay, we're never going to get it perfect. These are political decisions. Okay, so sometimes the baby has to get split. I recognize that.
Sure.
But you've got a group of politically expedient, fully transparently cynical people.
Yep.
Okay. And I respect Christie for that. Now, you're asking me who I would pick on that stage. He's the only one that has the muscle and the toughness to handle the global situation right now.
Mhm.
And here's something else about Chris that I like. He has the intellectual security to hire really smart people.
Agreed.
Donald Trump is going to have a bunch of morons in his cabinet. Okay. There's nobody that's going to go work for Donald Trump that has an
Speaking of
IQ.
that, I agree with you. Speaking of that,
He
you're a
burnt
guy.
so many of us. He burnt Esper. He burnt me.
Oh,
He burnt
absolutely.
Tillerson. He
What about all the
he burnt
people
everybody.
around you
He
that
burnt
are?
everybody.
You're a guy that knows a thing or two on how to make money. So I
Mhm.
respect your opinion when it comes to business. What do you make of a guy? I'll name you a few people around Donald Trump, if they haven't already been convicted of a felony. A guy like a Mike Lindell, who was in that Dominion lawsuit. I don't know if you saw that deposition. The guy looked like a complete ass clown and a nut job. He can't even afford to pay his own attorneys now. Rudy Giuliani, who basically is broke from what people are saying. It seems like if you surround yourself for Donald Trump for more than 11 days, you're
Mhm.
either filing for bankruptcy or you're a convicted felon. What do you make of these characters that
Well,
you
that's
were
what,
just?
Rick Wilson said, that everything that Trump touches dies, so that's why the good Lord in the universe got me out of there before he could really, he hurt me, but he didn't kill me. Rudy, unfortunately, I've been friends with and known him for 30 plus years. I supported him as a young man when he was running, and he did really good things for our city. But Rudy wants to be relevant. Rudy wants to be in that Secret Service caravan. Mike Lindell, I've met more than once because he was in the Republican circles in 2016. I think my wife said it better than me, so I'll just paraphrase what she said. He's a nice man, but there's something off about him. And I actually think he believes, I can tell you for certain, Donald Trump does not believe the nonsense that he's spewing. Donald Trump knows he lost the election. He knows his lie about the election is a full-on lie. Donald Trump does not believe the nonsense that he's spewing, but he knows, because there's a conspiracy quadrant of that party that he can raise money off of. There are rubes in that party that he can take advantage of. He'll spew that nonsense. But I actually think somebody like Mike Lindell, due to mental illness or prior crack addiction or whatever it might be, he actually believes the nonsense that Donald Trump is saying to him. And so there's tragedy in that. You see, and this is the problem. When you have amoral leadership, they will go and purposefully take advantage of people that are weak. And so I see Trump as a figure in the United States that needs to be defeated, similar to the first America First movement in the 1930s, that Roosevelt was skilled enough and built a coalition around defeating. Our problem today is that we're warring amongst ourselves, but most Americans know, a good 75% of the Americans know, that Trump is not the answer for the future, but he could win the Republican nomination, and then it's a battle in the minority states. And I don't mean minority from black and brown people. I mean, smaller populated states that have a lot of power because of the Electoral College.
Yep.
He could win the presidential election and still lose the popular vote by 8 to 10 million votes.
Correct.
And so this is something that he gets the nomination. I will stop what I'm doing and I will work tirelessly to explain the danger of him rising to power again and the full-on threat to the democracy and what you believe to be the ideals of America and our American way of life. Okay. And I will do that. And they can write anything they want about me on Twitter. They can slam me. They can send me the death threats they were sending to me in 2020. It's no problem. I love my country, and the country's been unbelievable to my family. And so I will go out there to the best of my capability to work against him. But he is a danger to the democracy, and your lives and your listeners' lives have been benefited by this democracy. Because let me tell you something, guys, we're not designed for power. Our founders understood that power corrupts people. So they diffused the power at the top. The dictatorship works for about 10 years. Mussolini got the trains to run on time. Then he started acting like a lunatic. And then what happens is you get cronyism around the leader, and then the laws get set by the leader. So there's a lack of predictability in the laws, which disrupts the capital system. And you create a bunch of rich cronies or oligarchs like you have in Russia, and a lot of poor people. all three of us that are on this radio show have benefited from the decentralized nature of our government, as has your listeners. And we have to go out there and explain that to them, that he's the threat to that. Okay. And so you don't want to lose that, because America's best days could be ahead of it, but we have to restate what the fundamentals are for the country.
No question.
And we're not doing that now. And so, look, I mean, I didn't think, I'm turning 60 in January. Okay? I didn't think I was going to be 60 and be in a country like this. I thought we would have had major improvements over the course of the 35 years of my adult life after college and law school. But we're in a tough spot right now. We got to dig ourselves out of it.
Well, to be frank, Anthony, this has been an extraordinary time period in American politics history, just in the last 6 to 7 years since the 2016 election, obviously, where you had the first time ever just a businessman, right? A businessman was elected president. And by the way, it wasn't just a businessman; it was a guy who's looked at kind of like a pop icon in Donald Trump, right? Almost a representation of someone of success in America. That is Donald Trump. His name being used in rap lyrics. He had that persona. So that's kind of changed the whole dynamic that is the American politic, and the existence of MAGA, right? MAGA, the idea of MAGA, and all of the people that still stand behind Donald Trump is something that has never really happened before in American.
And Anthony, speaking of MAGA, Chris, I agree with what you said. I'm asked this question all the time, Anthony, and
by the way.
He is right. I ask this question all the time. I'm asked this question all the time, and I answer it in different ways. But what does MAGA represent to Anthony Scaramucci?
Well, I mean, listen, it's a white grievance. It is it's the democracy worked when the white people were running the place. But now that demography is moving against the whites, and there's going to be black and brown people, and they're inferior to the white people. And so they shouldn't really be running the place. And so we can't have a democracy anymore. So we need to subvert the democracy. Okay. So there's a white supremacy element to it. There's a white superiority element to it. And it's really like an older white male, enlarged prostate sort of nonsense that's going on. And so I have way more faith in the American people. I have way more faith in the mosaic, the colorful mosaic of America. And we should stop that nonsense. And what we should do is reorient the ideas of the Republican Party. There are Hispanics and African Americans that would vote Republican, but you've got to take the ideas out of the 1960s or out of the KKK land, and you have to move them into something that's more Teddy Roosevelt-like. Remember, the father of American progressivism was a Republican. Okay, Teddy Roosevelt was a Republican. And what did Roosevelt say to the robber barons? He said, hey, guys, cut it out. You're taking too much of the economic rent. You're going to have a revolution. Do you want people descending upon you with tiki torches and shotguns while you're eating caviar and drinking champagne in your mansions? Or do you want to give them enough money so that they can raise their kids and live in an aspirational blue-collar America? And so the Republicans have lost the plot that way,
Oh, no question. I agree with you. Since you were in the position, even though
Democrats are focused on transgender bathrooms, these people are also nuts.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
It's stupid. Focus on the things that matter to the American people.
Couldn't agree with you more. That's how they're going to win one day, hopefully, maybe win the popular vote, is if they switch what they're doing. And you're right. Stop talking about how transgenders are ending the world and drag queen reading. I wanted to get your thoughts. You were in the position, you know a thing or two about it. Jean-Pierre, how do you think she's doing? What are your thoughts on her? Do you think she's a good White House communications director? What are your thoughts?
She's doing better. Okay. I mean, she would never listen to me. She would never take any advice from me. Remember, I only did one press conference, but it was quite a colorful one.
It was.
And what I would say to her is stop going in there with the notebook. You know generally what the right answers are and the wrong answers. And if you don't know the answer, just get to the podium and say, hey, I got to get back to you. I'm gonna call you after this press conference. Let me take another question. I was up on that stage for 40 plus minutes. Somebody told me 30 million people watched my press conference. But when they asked me a question I didn't know the answer to, I didn't go through the briefing book to try to look for it. In fact, I threw the briefing book in the garbage. Okay, my attitude was the American people will know if you're trying, and they'll know if you're trying to tell them the truth, and you're trying to get to the right answers. Okay. And I just think she needs to do more of that and less of the let me follow the briefing book. You know,
I agree.
People don't care about that. They want to know what, you know, are you telling me the truth or not? And are you trying to be real with me and straight with me? Yes or no?
I think Kayleigh McEnany, the answer is no. I thought she was one of the worst we've ever had. I don't know what
she's disingenuous. So her thing was she was better than Sean Spicer because she could lie more artfully. I mean, Sean was like, there's 10 people at the inaugural, but it's the biggest inaugural in the world. And he's in that overstuffed suit. And the next thing you know, he's got that woman making fun of him on Saturday Night Live. I mean, you can't lie like that. I mean, it's just like blatant lying. At least Kayleigh knew how to lie more artfully, you know?
Does Fox News ever even invite you on anymore? I mean, I know you speak the truth on Trump, and it doesn't seem like many people on Fox News want people like you on. But like, do you ever get invited on these right-wing networks anymore?
When they invite me on, they load the shotgun. They won't let me speak. Right. And then they'll bring up, well, you said in 2016 that you love Donald Trump. Now you're a flip-flopping, XYZ. And I'm like, okay, and they won't let me speak. You see, because the problem is you can't let me speak, because if you let me speak, I'm going to articulate something that's rational, and then you can't two-dimensionalize me, right? I mean, I've heard it all, right? I was Tony Soprano they always go with the Italian racist stereotypes. They were Tony Soprano on the Potomac. I was a Jersey Shore cast member. I was in the mafia. They had pictures of me with De Niro and Paul Sorvino in Goodfellas. I mean, I thought the stuff was funny, but this is all designed to two-dimensionalize you and to demonize you, so that if you have rational thought grounded with a historical observation that's commonsensical, that is way too threatening to the tribal establishments that exist in Washington now.
So true.
But Anthony, you are a smooth look at that, so I could see the Jersey Shore stuff. That's not necessarily
I mean, look at the hair, by the way, Chris. Look at the hair.
Guy that's bounced off the tree here.
Can you believe it?
Look at the hair. You come on. If you're nice to me, I will let you borrow this hair one night before I sell it on eBay.
Okay? I could use it myself. You know, Joe Walsh echoed, mutual friend. Joe does this show all the time. I love Joe Walsh.
I love Joe.
And listen, he speaks the truth right now. Republicans, many of them can't stand him now, and he makes appearances on CNN now. But like you, Joe told me the same thing, that they cut me off. They don't let me speak. They don't want honesty and truth. It's unfortunate, but I love you guys for speaking out the truth. And Mooch, it's always a pleasure having you on the show.
I'm grateful to be on, and I appreciate the both of you giving me the opportunity to speak and to at least lay out for you what is my opinion, what's going on. And I'll just say this. My heart is with the innocent people. Okay. There are bad actors in the world, but there are also innocent people, many of them which are below the age of 20. And my heart's with them. And I'm hoping that we can get to a rational discussion up here to diffuse the tragedy that's going to take place with those people. My uncle came back from Normandy. He was wounded in France. He survived the Normandy invasion at Omaha Beach, but he got wounded in France 3 weeks later, came out of the hospital, continued to fight through the Battle of the Bulge, was at the Potsdam Conference. But he came back broken. And he said to me something. He said, yeah, they just used us as cannon fodder, the big guns. Yeah. And I thought of the tragedy of that, and he never overcame the post-traumatic stress of the war. And he was a decorated hero, Purple Heart recipient, Silver Star recipient. But he did all of that at the age of 20, guys, from 18 to 20. So I just want you to think about the innocence here. We have to come up with solutions to reduce the harm of people that don't really want to fight with each other,
Well said. I couldn't have said it any better. Mooch, it's always a pleasure when you come on this show. You're always one of my favorite guests, and you tell it like it is. And I respect anybody for that.
Great to see both of you.
Good to see you, Mooch.
Thanks, Anthony. Have a good week.
Come on out to Vegas. Dinner on me, Mooch.
Chris, I'm inviting you to the Jersey Shore next summer, okay? I expect you to be there.
LBI is my spot, man. Mooch, you don't know me. I went to high school and college in Massachusetts, my friend. Made some runs down to the shore down in Jersey. So,
let me just tell you one thing before I go. Okay? I'm from Long Island, okay? Our mothers do our laundry, okay? The Jersey Shore, the mothers let them do the laundry. I may go to the beach and I may tan myself, but my mom's been doing my laundry for 60 years, okay?
at the end of the
I want to make
interview,
sure you got the distinction.
I always say this to Mooch towards the end of the
Yeah.
interview, and he always gives me the same answer. But I wish Mooch would run for office because I would be the first person in line that would vote for him. And I know you got a marriage and you got to get that vote. And I know you always tell me that.
And I always say the same thing. I'm running for re-election in my marriage. Okay. And for all I know, I mean, this could be like a one-day term over here. And I could be term limited here.
I don't know if I believe that, Mooch. You seem like a pretty damn good father and husband, and you're a good dude. And
he's great, but she hates this stuff because she doesn't want to put her kid. She want to put our kids through it.
I understand, but I hope one day you do run because we need your type of leadership in this country.
If I ran, it'd be a lot of fun, man. There'd be a lot of attacks. So as my oldest son said, man, you get hit from the left and the right. I said, well, yeah,
sure. There's nothing more I'd rather see right now, must see TV, than see you debate a guy like a Sean Hannity or even a Donald Trump. Maybe one day.
Sean and I grew up together, but he won't invite me on.
Of course he won't.
Because he doesn't want to fight with me. He's like, I gotta stay friends with you, and his viewership will not like my reasoning.
Of course not.
It doesn't fit the narrative,
right,
of the money-making machine of Fox, right?
So it says a lot about his viewership and the IQ level.
Debate Donald Trump. I would pay Trump to have that debate.
He would never do it.
I offered Bannon $300,000 to come to one of my conferences,
and
I told him he can pick the moderator. He can pick like Mark Levin. We could go 2 against 1 on the stage. Let's go.
No, he's a coward. But maybe he'll blame his
for that because how is he going to debate me? Because I'm coming fortified with the facts, and he's coming fortified with the racist.
Impossible. You're 10 times smarter than him. You're more, I would say, probably more quick-witted than he is. He would have no chance against somebody like you. That will never happen, and he will never do that. He might not be the brightest guy in the world, but he's smart enough to know he can't get on a
$300,000 I offered him. He turned it down.
These days, you think he would need that money? I don't know, to pay for.
Well, that was a couple of years ago. Now he's so tawdry. Now, I mean, he's not worth that anymore. This is when he just came out of. You remember, him and I were fired on the same day, but he's such a baby. Yeah. He begged Kelly to let him stay for. He couldn't go out the front door with me, so he begged Kelly if he could stay 2 more weeks. So he left on the 14th.
He might need that. He might need that $300,000 when he's behind bars.
The bid is a lot lower now, but I would still give him money to debate me. But he's sort of irrelevant now because he's become such a clown show.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more, Anthony. Thank you so much for your time, my friend. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Take care. All the best to you guys.
You too. I love that guy. I love Anthony Scaramucci. I love that guy in a very heterosexual way. I love.
He's interesting. I'll put it that way. Look, I'm not going to sit here and be, disingenuous and say that I was an Anthony Scaramucci guy because I'm a Democrat, right? Back when he was with the Trump administration, I clowned him just like everybody else. But I never had any interaction with the man personally or anything. So, he's an interesting guy. I mean, we probably wouldn't agree on some things politically.
I'll be honest with you. I think I got a little aroused when he started to bash Mark Levin. That was very enjoyable. For me.
And I was actually surprised you didn't bring that up because we actually interviewed Mark Levin on another show that we did. I, when I was on a show with you,
we did.
We had Mark on. And
Mark is a despicable human being.
What Anthony said, what Mooch said there was spot on when it came to Mark Levin. He's a guy that does not like to do other media because if he's not in control of the situation, right? And he is a bully. That's the way he operates. Yeah. And so he was pretty much spot on his analysis there.
Yeah, well, we talked about a number of different issues with the Mooch. We talked about the Republican Party. I didn't realize that he was a Chris Christie supporter, and I don't hate that. Of all the people up there on the stage, Chris Christie is one of those people that I've said that I could maybe see myself voting for. But we talked a lot about the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Boy, the Mooch made a lot of really good points. I think he's spot on a lot of different things. And listen, I understand the approach of Israel. You have to be careful, but at the same time, you have to.
Okay, so that was the one sticking point, Brian. When I heard the interview, when I was listening to you and him go back and forth on this, that was the one thing that you guys would have disagreed with.
Here's
you didn't really touch it, which is fine.
So here's the
thing.
But
like that's something that you guys absolutely disagree with because you don't think that they should take a step back at all.
Mooch did not say that they don't have a right to defend themselves. I don't think that's the point he was trying to make. The point he was trying to make was that you have to think of why did Hamas do this? Besides trying to kill innocent civilians, which sadly they did do. They want Israel to retaliate. They want the Gaza Strip to be blown to smithereens. So for Israel, they have a right to defend themselves. At the same time, I understand partially where Anthony Scaramucci is coming from.
And that's where I'm coming from, by the way. Anthony expressed it the same thing that I did. I think, look, and this is a thing. It's about taking a step back and taking a step back and looking at it from 15,000 feet, right? Which is what a lot of American officials have done, okay? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is not saying that Israel should not, they're not characterizing it in a way that Israel should not defend themselves. They're characterizing it in a way
Let me respond
in
to that.
which
Let me respond to that.
it's not eye for an eye. It shouldn't be an eye for
I
an eye.
understand. Let me respond to what you just said. That's not necessarily the only reason why I despise the comments of Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar, because they have a history.
I never said it was the only reason why.
So hold on. They have
no, but hold on. I never said it was the only reason why.
I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm not saying you said that. I'm giving you why I feel the way I feel about them.
Okay.
They have a history of anti-Israel. Anti-Israel should be
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has a history of anti-Israel
She has
comments?
sided with Ilhan Omar along the way. Ilhan Omar has made some anti-Israel comments, borderline that I would consider anti-Semitic comments, and Ocasio-Cortez was the last person to ever say, Ilhan Omar, her statements are wrong, she should apologize. Virtually the entire Democratic Party. Several times, Ilhan Omar has made some despicable statements, whether it be about 9/11, whether it be, these people.
Yeah, there's a handful of comments that Ilhan Omar has made that have been despicable.
Because Ilhan Omar is a moron. She's an idiot. Some people did some things when you're talking about terrorists that killed over 3,000 people. And guess who the person is that never said Ilhan Omar's comments were wrong? Never said that Ilhan Omar should apologize. Ocasio-Cortez. She's the first person to defend Ilhan Omar. You know why? I'm going to tell you this right now why I feel that way.
Right.
Because I believe Ocasio-Cortez and Tlaib and those that are in the squad are anti-Semites. That's why I feel that way. And Ilhan Omar is an anti-Semite. Look at the statements that Ilhan Omar has made just over the course of the last 2 days. And you tell me she's not an anti-Semite. I'm telling you right now, the squad, I'm done with them. They should be outed from office. They're despicable. All right, we got to switch topics. Wow. It's been an interesting...
You're already getting fired up again. You're getting fired up again.
I am.
For like a fifth time today.
I respect Ocasio-Cortez
by the way, Brian, quick
in some
note,
ways, but...
When we talked with Anthony, right, did you guys get the impression that if we had like a 5-hour radio show, Mooch would be all down.
Oh,
we
man.
We just talk for 5. I mean, the guy's so engaging. Yeah, and he's so...
We just had him on.
He's not afraid to go for a little back and forth long term.
We just had him on for 45 minutes, so that's pretty awesome, and that was a fun interview, and we'll post all sorts of that stuff. And the Mooch always retweets. He's very nice to me. He likes coming on, and in fact, somebody that I went to high school with, who lives in California, who owns a bar, Mooch walks into his bar, and the first thing he says to Mooch is, "I saw you on Brian Shapiro's show," and then I get text messages from people.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. So the Mooch always is great, and we love having him on. We have to switch topics, and it's a very difficult switching from the Israeli conflict with Palestine and now talking sports. But we do that, and we're going to have to make that transition. Brian Salmon from Channel 3 Sports is going to be joining us next. Man, do we have a lot to talk about just from the local sports perspective. The Aces, the Raiders, Monday Night Football tonight. We got the Lakers in Vegas tonight. We'll talk about that. He's Chris Wynn. I'm Brian Shapiro. And I do want to tell you guys, and I almost forgot. My goodness, how could I forget about Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care? Located at 6125 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 1B. No appointment needed. You can give them a call, though, if you don't trust me. 702-248-0554. You could also visit them online at SaharaWestUrgentCare.com. I was just in and out of there in 30 minutes a few weeks ago when I wasn't feeling good. They are awesome. Please check them out. Take a quick break. Be back right after that. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
everybody. Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call. 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. Tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event. It requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust, someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams and treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Interesting guests we have tomorrow, to say the least. A guy by the name of Chris Ruff, who has a very large social media following. He does these recordings of these police officers, you know, and he just records them when they're working, and sometimes he's not nice to them, and they don't like that, and it turns into entertaining video. Is it right? Is it wrong? Well, this guy, Chris Ruff, who apparently has warrants now for his arrest, is going to be joining us tomorrow. I don't think he'll be giving us his location. He's going to be joining us tomorrow on the show. And then we have a LGBT, how would you describe this person? He's someone who is a drag queen. Okay. He's been in studio before, and he got into it with a far-right fringe group of people, including somebody by the name of Mindy Robinson. It got a little physical. And I mean, not
is it Sister Aura?
Sister Aura
was in studio
yes.
and looking fabulous last time she was in
here.
So
it caused some controversy, and Metro actually made an arrest. Well, guess what? That man, Sister Aura, will be joining us in studio tomorrow as well. So some very interesting guests. Rabbi Yavitz Vine will be joining us in studio Wednesday to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So looking forward to that. We have some very interesting guests joining us, and we just had Anthony Scaramucci.
Speaking of interesting, Brian.
Yeah, speaking of
coming
interesting.
Up next.
Yes, a very good radio professional in Chris Wynn joining us joining us in studio. And the guy joining us right now on the line, of course, I'm talking about the man, the myth, the legend, the sportscaster himself, radio and TV gold, Brian Salmon, although he has a face for TV and I have a face for radio. B-Sal, what's going on, my friend?
My guy, man, selling himself short, man. You're such a handsome young man.
Yeah.
You got a face for TV. You've done well on TV when I've had you on, man. Don't sell yourself short.
I'm okay. Although I got to be telling you something. I've been trying to get in touch with the Las Vegas Aces because I'm trying to bring Vivica A. Fox to the game on Wednesday, and nobody wants to get back to me.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know what's up with that. I really don't. But I'm trying to do my best. I'm trying to do my best.
It's not them. And I'm glad I wish you would have hit me up off here and reminded me, because I had so much going on.
That's
I
okay.
completely messed that up.
I think I've texted half the organization and nobody's gotten back to me yet. So maybe they don't want Vivica A. Fox at the game.
It's the NBA Finals,
I don't know.
Shapiro. They're
I don't know.
busy. You got
But
stuff
anyway,
going on, man.
I didn't want to have
Come on.
B-Cell on to grieve,
vent about your issues.
for my grievances. But let's start with the Raiders. And then we'll get to the more positive stuff. And I say that because the Raiders are not in a very good spot right now. A lot of criticism. Josh McDaniels, the Green Bay Packers are in town. B-Sal and Jesse, they're obviously covering the game tonight. Brian, any expectations now with this game tonight? What do you see happening?
Man, well, the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is returning, he will play tonight. That's a feather in the cap of the Raiders. It should be, at least. You know what I mean? You know, he's better than Aiden O'Connell. So, I mean, that's a good thing. And Devontae Adams, banged up or not banged up, going against his former team.
Right.
That is huge. You know what I mean? Devontae is already he's obviously like top 3 receiver in the league. I mean, hands down. You know what I mean? So him going against his former team, Monday Night Football, everyone's eyes are on this game. Woo! It should be electric. And the Raiders, they really, 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 really need a win.
They do. Do you think the criticism for Josh McDaniels is fair? Because I've been one of those anti-Josh McDaniels guys since last year. I don't think he's a very good head coach. If he hasn't lost the locker room, if he doesn't start winning, he's going to lose it very soon. With that being said, I like the Raiders owner, Mark Davis. I think he's a good guy. I'm just not sure he's the best owner of an NFL football team as far as decision-making. I wonder, because we saw Tom Brady at the Aces game last night, I wonder what kind of conversations in private Mark Davis and Tom Brady have had about Josh McDaniels.
You know what? I would love to be a fly on the wall for that as well. You know, they've had a ton of conversations. I would assume, though, that Brady really has a lot of positive things to say about McDaniels, and the fact that he won, 5 Super Bowls with him, something like that?
Correct.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would think that he's got a lot of good things to say about him. However, I'd be insincere if I didn't say that I share your sentiment. You know what I mean? Like, as far as Josh McDaniels as a coach. One, and the fact that if his team does not do well, they start winning some games, he's definitely going to lose the locker room. I mean, he lost a lot of points with the locker room with the decision that he made in – what game was that? The game in which he decided to kick a field goal instead of – Steelers game, instead of going for the touchdown. You know, that had a lot of people scratching their heads. And he almost all but said that he made a mistake without saying he made a mistake, because he couldn't say that publicly. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that I mean, guys know in the locker room if you know what you're doing. They know if you know what you're doing. If you're not putting them in the best position to win, then they're gonna he's gonna lose the locker room. So I think that's real. I absolutely think that's real. And you know what else? Rich Bisaccia is coming back to town.
Right. Yeah.
I believe. Isn't he the special teams coordinator for the Packers?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got a guy in town that the players loved and really wanted to be the head coach. And you're going against a guy, that is now the head coach if you're Bisaccia. That's going to be – he needs to make a statement tonight. He really does with the team, for sure.
Interesting, Brian, tonight, obviously, because we have the national stage, with it being a Monday Night Football game. We saw what transpired. We just talked about that Pittsburgh Steelers game, right, where it was a whole lot of Pittsburgh faithful in the building at Allegiant Stadium. Well, tonight, that's going to be kind of something to look at as well, too, right, Brian, when you talk about the fan support. In a perfect world, us here in Vegas, you want to see the silver and black show out, right? You want to see mostly silver and black in the stadium. But being that it's the first opportunity for Green Bay to play, and look, we're still 3 years into this thing, right? Where a team's been here in Vegas and played at Allegiant Stadium. This is and it's the first time the Packers have played here in a regular season game at Allegiant Stadium. So I'm going to be very interested, and I'm sure you are, right, to see how that dynamic plays out as far as the fan support there in the stands at Allegiant Stadium in this game between Green Bay and Vegas.
I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw with the Steelers. Because you and I both know, man, that fan base travels. That fan base travels. And let's see, Chris, Brian, if you live in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and you have an opportunity to go watch your team play, where are you going to go?
Exactly. Yep.
I think I'm going to Las Vegas. I think I'm going to go to Las Vegas and try to watch a game. You know what I mean? So everyone in Green Bay is attempting to come out here to watch this game, regardless of how the teams are playing, all that other kind of stuff. They want to go. Man, please, you want to go to Vegas to go support your team. If anywhere you have circled on the schedule, it's Las Vegas. So there'll be a ton of people here in town. And if you are a Raiders season ticket holder at Allegiant Stadium, do you want to go support the Raiders or do you want to make money?
Right.
The way that they're playing right now, you're probably thinking to yourself, you know what, I'd rather make some money.
So I guess here's the $1 million question, right? I mean, I don't know what's going to happen tonight. It wouldn't surprise me if the Raiders won. It wouldn't surprise me if the Packers won. But if you're the Raiders and you're, say, I don't know, and I'm putting a hypothetical out there, that's what we do in sports, 2-7, 3-8. Do you think that Mark Davis will have enough pressure on him where he will have to pull the trigger? And what I mean by that is fire Josh McDaniels. Do you think there's a number that Josh McDaniels needs to get at in maybe 6 weeks from now to keep his job?
No, I can't really see Mark Davis making a decision like that. Even if they are, what you said, 3-7, 2 and whatever, something like that. Mainly because, I mean, the Raiders are making good money. They're a storied franchise, Allegiant Stadium, Vegas, all that kind of good stuff. But I mean, even Mark Davis is paying John Gruden still, right? He'd end up having to pay Josh McDaniels, say if he let him go.
Correct.
And then they'd have an interim coach after that. Like I can't see that happening. However, if say they finish the season with 2 wins or 3 wins, and that means he clearly had lost the team because they have the talent. There's no way in the world they should not. There's no way in the world that they shouldn't be 500 or above and threatening for the playoffs. I don't care about putting in your system and needing 3 years and all that kind of stuff. You can't take a playoff team and make them into a team that's much worse than that with much better talent, and then tell me that you're doing a good job. You don't have that kind of patience.
No,
so,
I agree.
Especially with the way the NFL is made with parity, you're able to, reboot your team quickly. So he needs to have a good season. And if he has a bad season, then I would say that he'd be on the hot seat for the beginning of next season quickly.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you because this is Mark Davis's guy. I tend to agree that I don't think he's going to pull the trigger unless you're looking at like 2-10 or something. I don't see that happening. All right, let's talk about some positives in the local sports community, and that is the Las Vegas Aces. A nice win yesterday against a really good New York Liberty team. The second half, it just looked like the Liberty ran out of gas. They just couldn't keep up with the Aces, and their intensities, particularly defensively yesterday, was very impressive to me. What did you make of the game last night?
Man, one, I made that. How about the atmosphere inside of Michelob Ultra Arena? Man?
Yeah, it was great.
Like, come on. Like, come on, man. Like, really?
Yep.
Tom Brady, LeBron James,
yep.
Just those two in the building at the same time for a game in Las Vegas when neither one of them live here in Las Vegas. Brady's now part owner or whatever. He hasn't been no game all year. So just having those two in the building, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yep.
Then you add the little halftime performance with Ashanti. You see Ben Simmons walking around.
Yeah.
You see all kind of different sports celebrities in the building, man. And it was loud, and I don't know, man. I couldn't be any more impressed with the atmosphere at Aces games.
Agree.
For regular season games, playoff games, and that game in particular. And then when it came to on the court action, the Aces and their 4 biggins, Asia, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, and Jackie Young, they really showed up and showed out.
They were phenomenal, and they did it on both ends of the floor. That's what I was most impressed with, because I always said this is a bad matchup for the Aces, but they proved me wrong at least yesterday because they won the physical battles. I thought Brianna Stewart was absolutely terrible yesterday, and I give partial credit, of course, to the Aces. But when you're the MVP and you have a shooting game that she had, she was terrible. Their guard was terrible. They didn't shoot the ball well. And again, I give the Aces partial credit for that. I expect the Liberty to come back strong on Wednesday and play better. But if the Aces can continue that defensive intensity, particularly in the second half, the Liberty are not going to win this series, and the Aces are going to be back-to-back WNBA champions.
And Brian squared that point to the four players you're talking about. 91 points they combined for the Las Vegas Aces. So, I mean, I guess you could look at that in two ways. You could look at it and say, oh, that's outstanding, right, that you're getting that much amount of production out of your quartet like that. But also, on the flip side, you can say, oh, that's not a lot of balance. So maybe that's something that the Aces should be concerned with as far as their bench play.
They should definitely be concerned with it.
Mm-hmm.
A few stats. I'm not a huge stat guy, but I think stats can tell the story. The Aces and the fact that they only had 5 players that scored in the game. The 4 players that we mentioned and the 1 player off the bench, Alicia Clark, had 8 points. That's crazy to me that no one else scored on the team. No one else scored on the team but those 5 players.
Yeah.
And how about this? You talk about numbers. Brianna Stewart, she wasn't fantastic, but I mean, she had 21 points. She was like 50% from the field, which isn't terrible. But Sabrina Nescu, 7 points.
Yeah.
7 points.
Well, she was
That
terrible.
is
Yeah. She was
horrendous.
terrible. And again,
Horrendous.
I give a lot of credit to the Aces defensively for making their lives miserable. But I also say that the Liberty they looked gassed. They looked tired. It looked like the Aces are in better physical condition. I look at that second half, and I was just watching the mannerisms of these Liberty players with their hands on their knees, winded, and the Aces looked like they could play another 40 minutes. I mean, they looked like they were in better physical condition. And I think, again, that's a part of Becky Hammond and the conditioning of this team and the coach that she is. All due respect to the Liberty, they're a really good team. But with that being said, I do expect the Liberty to bounce back. I'm not saying they're going to win on Wednesday, but I expect a much closer game, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. With all this stuff going on, Mr. Salmon, LeBron James is putting on his Lakers jersey at T-Mobile Arena tonight. The Lakers are playing you mentioned Ben Simmons. I saw Bridges and Cam. We saw a bunch of the players there, Cam Johnson, and they're going to be in action tonight. Preseason game, Lakers. LeBron is expected to play tonight. At least that's last I heard. And, we also have the PGA Tour in town this week and a huge national story that SportsCenter led with the other day, and that is Lexi Thompson, LPGA, I think she's number 30 in the world for only the 7th time in PGA Tour history, is going to be playing in the Shriners Hospital for Children's Open against the men.
No, is she really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I hadn't seen that. I hadn't seen that at all. Wow.
Oh, and by the way, B-Sal, Shap didn't even mention this. Tomorrow night, what are they doing? They're dropping the puck for the first time this season, and they're going to have the banner raising of the Stanley Cup champions here in Vegas.
It's crazy.
That's one more thing I just had to toss out there.
We got the BGK music.
No. Hold on. Did you mention the fact that there's also a NASCAR event?
Oh, yeah. We do have something called Formula One.
No, NASCAR. He's talking about NASCAR. Stock car
NASCAR
racing,
as well.
Shapiro.
Yeah.
Not F1 yet.
Oh, I was
F1.
thinking F1. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we do have
there's NASCAR this weekend as well, which is like come on, really?
But B-Sal, that's like 5 days away. We're not even talking about it. Brian, the sports you got to be ahead on a swivel right now, my friend. You the beautiful Jesse Merrick, you guys got to be. I mean, there's so much going on for the next couple of days. I don't know how you guys are going to do it. We're playing double duty tonight with this Laker game and the Raiders game, obviously. But just in the next 48 hours, it's crazy.
Jesse Merrick, that's great.
Yeah, I've called him the Cougar guy, but I don't think I've ever called him beautiful. That's interesting.
I mean, that fits. I mean, Jesse's a pretty boy.
Oh, come on now. I see all of us Las Vegans out there got a chance to see that fine show you guys do on Sunday nights, you and Jesse Merrick, where you go for the 3, or I don't know what the description of the final
Beyond
segment
the
is.
3?
Beyond the 3, baby. At late night Vegas. It's late night must-see Vegas television, Brian Shapiro, that you need to check out over on Channel 3.
Absolutely. No, you guys, you're going to be a pretty busy man these next few weeks, aren't you?
Yeah, we're super busy right now. It's I don't know, man. We got a lot that we've been doing. You know what I mean? Like the work never stops. And Vegas being the sports and entertainment capital of the world, man, there's always something here, man. Like, man, like really? Like, come on.
Yeah, there is. I mean, there's so much going on. It's unbelievable. Give me your pick. Bri, who do you think is going to win tonight? Do you think the Raiders get it done?
I do, man. I think Garoppolo comes back and does well. And And mainly I have to say that to try to put that out in the atmosphere because I was forced to pick up a quarterback and I had to pick him up in my fantasy.
Yeah.
I
I've got him on. I've got him.
Bro.
Beat Sal on my bench. He's actually on my bench. My starter is going to continue to start over him because I have Tua as my starter. But yeah, I have Jimmy there too. But obviously, you brought up the storyline too. Also with obviously, when you have a star wide receiver playing against his old team, that's going to be a major focus tonight. Also, we'll see how big a game he has against his former team in Green Bay. Right.
Yeah, man. Devontae Adams going up against his former team, that's going to be huge. Garoppolo, man, like he's got stuff to prove here. He's in Vegas, and all people talk about is the fact that he's made out of paper and plastic, and he's Mr. Glass. Is he gonna play the entire season? He already missed a game. What, 3 games in, he's missed a game. So
yeah,
he's got something to prove, man. And I think if he's healthy and he plays, I think we talked about this at the beginning of the year. If he plays 15 games, and the Raiders, they should expect to make the playoffs. So if that's the case, he needs to start playing. They need to start winning. And I think there's no better time than tonight on a national stage with Devontae Adams going against his former team.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Also, I have some breaking news, Brian. I just got a confirmation that Vivica A. Fox will be going to the game on Wednesday, so that's good.
There you go.
Just figured out
everything. All the planets aligned. We got it set up. We got
breaking news.
Yes,
it's all aligned.
Oh, by the way, to that point too, on the Aces game as well too. Cheryl Swoops was in attendance as well.
She was. That was so. And
another big name.
Brian is so right too. Before we let you go, Brian, you have one of the best basketball players of all time. Everybody would agree on that with LeBron James. Arguably the best football player of all time. Certainly the best quarterback of all time in Tom Brady.
Right.
You had Mark Wahlberg there, who lives here in Vegas. It was nice.
Yes, I forgot him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Seeing Mark Wahlberg there, you had a bunch of NBA players that were there. It was packed. It was loud. And it's so Vegas, right? We had Lil Wayne a few weeks ago here in town.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great halftime performance. Ashanti this time. She's
awesome.
awesome.
By the way, I like Ashanti. I'm a fan.
Oh, she's great. She's got a great voice. It was nice to see a musician not lip syncing. She didn't.
Looking good out there.
She's got a great voice, and she's got so many hits, and that was nice to see her there. Listen, say what you want about WNBA players and how much you think they should get paid or not. The bottom line here, I've never said anything to the contrary of this. It's a great atmosphere. It's great to bring your family. Brian brings his kids there all the time. The community is really supporting this team. Mark Davis has done a great job with the Aces organization. Becky Hammond is a phenomenal head coach. And these are really good people. I love Asia Wilson. Brian, I know I saw you speaking to Asia's father who was there yesterday. She has a wonderful family. These are really good people. And I think we need to emphasize that, and great role models to young kids.
And quickly, too, Sal, we're not being biased, right? And I got to get your take in that when you talk about the fan atmosphere, right? Just the sheer everything that goes down when it comes to Las Vegas Aces games, you will find it nowhere like you'll find it here in Las Vegas when it comes to the Aces and the support here in this town. And that's not a biased take, right?
No, I don't think that's a biased take at all, man. I was talking to a couple of the people that work for the WNBA, and they were talking about how New York's atmosphere is the only one that's even close that rivals the Vegas atmosphere inside of Michelob Ultra Arena. The game they play in Brooklyn. They had Common, the rapper Common was there. I believe Carmelo Anthony came out for a game. They have some people. I think Alicia Keys showed up to a game, which is pretty cool. But I mean, that's cool. But it is not even close to being what they have with the Aces at Michelob Ultra Arena. It's not even close. So yeah, man, you are not being biased. You're being the great journalist that you are.
And Brian, B. Sal brought out the point earlier in the interview about Tom Brady, right, making an appearance. He got ribbed a little bit, right, by Kelsey Plum in the post-game press conference. Or Kelsey Plum's like, hey, you finally showed up, eh? Finally decided to roll by. That was pretty funny.
I think that's absolutely hilarious. Brian, it's always a pleasure having you on, my friend. You guys do a great job at Channel 3. And we'll be seeing you a lot this week, especially tomorrow at the VGK season opener. Thank you, Brian, as always.
Thanks, peace out.
Yeah, man, always good talking to you guys. And B, I appreciate you having me on, man. I'm glad I got a chance to get on there with you, bud.
Oh, I appreciate it. We've been doing this for a while, and you know how much I appreciate your friendship and you always coming on, B-Sal. We'll see you out there. Thank you so much for joining us, as always.
All right, fellas. Have a good night.
You too. All right, there you go. A very, very busy Brian Solomon and really anybody who covers sports. Me and C-Win are going to be checking out the Lakers game tonight. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Got to get your pick, though, Shap. You got it from B-Sal. Who you think's going to win, Raiders or Packers?
Not because I think the Raiders are a better football team, because I'm not sure they are, but the reason why I think the Raiders win today is a lot of what Brian Solomon said. The Devontae Adams factor, his former team, the fact that you're getting Garoppolo back, the fact that the Raiders are absolutely desperate. Oh, and they happen to be home. If this game was on the road, I would pick the Packers. I think the Raiders win. I think it's going to be a very close, competitive game, but I do think the Raiders get it done.
To the shock to absolutely nobody out there in PTL Nation, Brian Shapiro and Numchuck, I'm on the other side on this one. So maybe who are you going to piggyback, PTL Nation? Whose side are you going to be on? You're going to be on Brian Shapiro, our vaunted host. You're going to be on C-Win, the Monday add-in.
That would give me more incentive to put. I wasn't even going to bet on the game, but to put money on the Raiders, because C-Win, the official fade handicapper of pushing the limits, ladies and gentlemen.
Money line Green Bay, by the way. I'm not even going to take the point.
Going for broke.
Money line.
Hey, my thanks to the Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci. I think we had him on for about 45 minutes, and that guy is very enlightening. I love having him on. And I do enjoy having Chris Wynn on, especially when he gives me his picks. So thank you to PTL Nation out there. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian